Deciding whether or not to mend or end your marriage is one of the most overwhelming, complex, emotionally triggering decisions that we make because we're not just impacting our own lives, but if you're married, there's your spouse. If you have children, there are your children, and then all of the tentacles of other relationships that you're connected to. That's one side of it. The side I want to talk about today is the logistical side because the other part of the decision is what does it actually mean? I'm going to make this decision and then everything's going to change. Where do I start? What do I do? How do I navigate what I don't even know is around the bend? And so when we talk to our clients, one of the first things we talk about is stage one of making the decision and how you prepare your head, heart, and home for how to do it well. And the first thing is understanding your legal rights, which people don't usually start there. They'll actually go out and hire an attorney without even understanding their legal rights or the right approach to divorce. And so simply understanding your legal rights and responsibilities gives you some scaffolding, some sense of guardrails as you move forward. The next thing that's super scary is sharing the decision with your spouse. And we talk a lot about what do you say? What do you not say? How do you say it? When do you say it? And how do you prepare for the fallout that might happen after telling them? And that's not an ask, it's a tell, it's sharing a decision. And then there's the particularly prickly need to tell the children and how you do that. How do you do that in a tender way? And if you and your spouse are in a particularly high conflict situation, which means that you may not agree on anything, including how to tell the children, what are your choices if you might be the one who's being thrown under the bus, or you might want to be throwing your spouse under the bus and telling the children perhaps details that should not be on their little shoulders and burdened with that information. So we have investigating your legal rights, sharing the decision with your spouse, telling your children. And then the last two are what you do in your house. Many people can't afford to be in two different households at this point. And so creating boundaries and agreements that enable you to share the kitchen, the living room, the common living space in a way that is going to minimize conflict instead of blowing it up. And then finally, when there's children involved, early on designing a temporary shared parenting plan, which is often very triggering for the primary parent to give up that time. They're not sure the other parent is going to do a good job. Or if it's a high conflict, you might be worried about the children and their anxiety around the other parent. And if you're the primary earner and you're stepping into a role that you didn't play as much, you might feel anxiety about it. And so figuring out how to create a temporary shared parenting so that everybody can learn what works and what doesn't, and so that the children can begin to see a change and spending time with one or the other parent is going to be incredibly helpful for everyone going forward. And so we have a gift, we have a Smart Start pre-divorce checklist that you can get. You can click the link below. And again, you want to investigate your rights. You want to share the decision with your spouse. You want to tell the kids. You want to create some boundaries and agreements in the household. And you want to design a temporary parenting plan. And that gives you some next steps. So you might be thinking about the marital home, you might be thinking about life after divorce, but when we can keep our head where our feet are and just stay with the next steps, you can calm your nervous system and you can stay in your prefrontal cortex and make really good decisions. I'll be back again with more tips. I hope this helps.